Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Cone back here again today with another video, and today we've got to talk Klay Thompson and the Golden State Warriors because we've got some more breaking news coming from Shams. Heading into this offseason, it felt more likely than ever that Klay and the Warriors would go ahead and go their separate ways, something that seemed pretty impossible a few years ago when they won in 2022. They once again reached the mountaintop. He, Curry, Draymond Green, that big three had done it again, and it felt like all three of them would probably finish their careers as Golden State Warriors and have their jerseys risen to the rafters together. It just made sense. They're core guys for their dynasty, but seems like at the very least Klay Thompson isn't going to be part of this going forward because according to Shams, again, breaking news, the Golden State Warriors are preparing to lose four-time NBA champion Klay Thompson in free agency, an expected parting of ways between a legendary dynasty and a legacy player. And yeah, this was kind of expected, but it doesn't make it any less shocking and feel momentous here in the moment. Like, I am kind of shook that Klay Thompson isn't going to be a Golden State Warrior going forward. The writing was kind of on the wall throughout the season when he wasn't playing his best. There were a lot of moments where he and the Warriors seemed to kind of butt heads. He got benched at one point and he said he accepted it. Then he got back in the starting lineup and played a little bit better and then shot abysmally against the Sacramento Kings in the play-in game. You've seen the memes all over the place. And after he left the court, he was kind of just taking it all in as if he was accepting it was his final game with the franchise. And all in all, this makes sense for both sides. Klay Thompson isn't getting the money he wants from Golden State. He could probably get more money long-term somewhere else. The Warriors probably want to go ahead and move in a different direction. He just did not work for them this past year as their second option. Doesn't have the same juice he used to where he and Steph Curry were just this dominant game-breaking backcourt. Klay's still a good player, and I want to talk about how I think he can make an impact on other teams in a moment, but he was no longer the guy that they needed him to be to compete for a championship. Now, what does this mean for the Golden State Warriors? I mean, I've said before, I made a video right after they lost in the play-in. I think this era is pretty much over for Golden State. I don't see how they get back to a championship contention level. They were reportedly pursuing Paul George, and it seemed like that might actually come to fruition. If they had gotten him in town, somehow kept Klay Thompson, suddenly the Warriors are a lot more interesting. I don't think they're the favorites in the West, but it's at least a conversation we can have about them being one of the top teams. But Paul George opted out of his contract, becoming a unrestricted free agent, and it seems like he's either going to sign with the Clippers or the Sixers. That's kind of where the situation is now, so he's not going to the Warriors. They're going to lose Klay Thompson. It feels like the Warriors are quickly falling apart. They either have to head towards a rebuild, maybe they could find a way to retool using the Chris Paul contract, Andrew Wiggins, and some of their young players, but I just really don't see a way they get back to competing for a championship anytime soon. Could that mean the end of Draymond Green in Golden State, or even Steph Curry? Will he ask for a trade? Will they consider moving him? We'll have to wait and see, but yeah, Golden State is in a very weird spot at the moment, even though I do think not paying Klay Thompson a bunch of money makes sense. Then, of course, we've got to talk about what this means for Klay Thompson and where he could go other than Golden State, because I'm sure there are suitors out there, and according to Shams, three teams have immediately kind of come to a forefront. It's the Los Angeles Lakers, the Dallas Mavericks, and the Los Angeles Clippers. I want to say off the bat, I'm not quite sure how the Clippers get it done. I guess Klay would have to choose them, but it seems like they're worrying about Paul George in the first place, so I don't think the Clippers are going to be a serious contender in the sweepstakes. They have their own problems to currently figure out before they consider pursuing Klay Thompson, unless they think getting Klay could convince Paul George to come back. Maybe that's the case. We'll have to wait and see, but I think the Lakers and the Mavericks are two much stronger suitors. There is also like the Magic, who have a bunch of cap space and feels like a team that would naturally be linked to Klay Thompson with their desperate need for shooting, but Shams' article didn't say anything about them. It did say other suitors, so maybe the Magic are still willing to throw him some money. Maybe they look a different direction. We'll have to wait and see. But the Lakers and the Mavericks, again, I want to talk about those two teams off the bat because I think those are the most interesting destinations. We'll start with Dallas. There have been reports over the past few days that the Mavericks have emerged as a suitor for Klay Thompson. It would have to be a sign and trade scenario. They don't have the money to just go out there and sign him outright. And I'm interested to see how much money he would make and how much they would be willing to send to the Warriors to make it happen. Like Josh Green's contract could be on the move, maybe a Maxi Kleber, maybe a Dwight Powell. Like the Warriors could get some interesting role players to further bolster their rotation. And as for the Mavericks, I think Klay Thompson does make sense as an upgrade. Now it depends on the years with his contract and how much money you're giving him, because that could severely hinder how you build your team going forward. But if they could get him on not too crazy of a contract and not too long of a contract, just basically basically say, hey, we'll give you a couple of seasons, see what you can do here. I think it does make sense. You put Klay Thompson there at the 3, where sure, he wasn't the Klay Thompson of old last season, but he was still pretty good. He made around 39% of his threes. He shot 9 a game, so that's pretty good efficiency on that type of volume. He averaged 18 points per game. Not the best defender anymore, so that is something that could be a little bit worrying, but there are ways to work around that. I think Klay Thompson could be a pretty solid fit. Also, I think the main way Klay is able to make an impact at this point in his career is to not try and be a second option, to be like a third guy, and obviously he would be that behind Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. If there's anybody that's going to get Klay Thompson some amazing wide open looks, it's going to be Luka and Kyrie. That backcourt demands so much pressure. Luka is, of course, one of the best playmakers in the world. He was just feeding PG Washington, Derrick Jones Jr., all those guys, corner threes all throughout the playoffs up until the finals. I think Klay would thrive in that environment, and it could be a great way for him to maybe take a short-term deal and prove himself to make more money in the long term and say, hey, I've still got it when I'm put in a more ideal situation. So I like Dallas a lot. And then there are the Lakers, who maybe are the front runners right now. According to, it was B.A. Turner, I believe, on Twitter, Klay Thompson is intrigued about playing with the Lakers and LeBron James, provided that he does re-sign with the Lakers. Thompson plans on talking with them, of course, as well as Dallas. Again, they seem like the front runners. And the LeBron thing is interesting because today he opted out of his player option. It does seem like he's going to come back. I'd be shocked if he goes anywhere else. And he reportedly is open to taking a bit of a pay cut to open more money to get a guy like Klay Thompson. So if Bron's willing to take a pay cut, they can offer Klay more money than some other teams. It makes sense he would end up there. He gets to stay in California, play alongside LeBron James and Anthony Davis, form a really interesting big 3, I guess you could call it, over there. And this is another team where he's going to get a lot of great looks. I mean, Anthony Davis demands a ton of attention down low. LeBron is, of course, still one of the best playmakers in the world and one of the best players in the world, period, despite being up there in age. They've got a decent supporting cast around those guys. They could find ways to make some moves too. If they're going all in with Klay Thompson, I imagine they would. Could trade D'Angelo Russell's contract to make an upgrade. They've got Jared Vanderbilt's money, Rui Hachimura, Gabe Vincent. Like, there are contracts that are tradable if they need to clear more space. If you ask me, I think Klay probably ends up as a Los Angeles Laker, and that's incredibly intriguing. The Lakers have had this trend where they'll bring in shooters, and all of a sudden they just forget how to shoot the basketball. That's not going to be Klay Thompson. Anybody who has watched Klay Thompson, I'll tell you as a Thunder fan firsthand, that is a man who, if there's one thing he's going to do his entire career, it's shoot the basketball like crazy. He's going to have some streaky nights, especially at this point in his career, but Klay is one of the most reliable threats you can ask for. You put him next to LeBron James, 80 out there, you form a really fun team over there because Klay also demanding some attention on the three-point line opens the game up a lot for AD, opens it up for LeBron James. He can still run up and down the court. He's played with Steph Curry in a fast-paced offense if they want to go that route. There's a lot of ways they could operate. And I mean, working under JJ Redick too, who knows how to get shooters open. He did that his entire career. It could be a great fit. And then you have him, you've got Dalton Connect as shooter. Suddenly, the Lakers are looking way scarier than they've been in the past. So it's a really intriguing spot. Again, I wouldn't give him like $30 million in a really long-term deal, but if you could get him on a relatively cheap contract for a short-term agreement, I think it makes a lot of sense for the Lakers to go for him. And suddenly, Klay Thompson could be one of the biggest cogs that shifts the playoff picture over in the Western Conference. Also, Klay's dad played for the Lakers. I don't know if that's going to factor in at all for him, but I guess it is something to definitely keep in mind, something to note. And yeah, I'm really intrigued to see where this Klay Thompson thing goes. Again, it's surreal that he's going to be leaving the Lakers. I can't even imagine him in another uniform. I'm grabbing a couple of jersey swaps, I think, to use for this thumbnail. And that already was like, whoa, what am I even looking at here? So I guess we'll have to wait and see. But regardless of what happens, he's not going to be a Golden State Warrior. The Big Three era is over. The Warriors dynasty, as we know it, is truly dead and gone. We'll see if they find a way to recover. We'll see where Klay Thompson lands. Where do you think would be the best spot for him to go? Would it be the Mavericks? Would it be the Lakers? Do you want to see him sign with a young team like the Orlando Magic and kind of get a bigger role potentially? I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are. How much money do you think also Klay Thompson should get? Should these teams be willing to offer out to Klay Thompson at this point in his career? I still think he could be really effective in one of these supporting roles. It just wasn't going to make sense for the Warriors to bring him back to be that 2 option. He can't do that at this point in his career, and I'm excited to see what the next chapter is. But for the moment, yeah, one of the big dominoes has fallen in free agency, or at least I guess one of the kind of known commodities. We knew Klay was going to be a free agent, but it is true now. Appreciate you watching. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. Also, I'm going to be live streaming during the first hour or so of free agency tomorrow, Sunday, as you're seeing this. Free agency starts at 6 p.m. Eastern, so I might go live like 5:30, 5:45 Eastern. We'll wait and see. I'll put the live stream up on my channel coming up here soon, so be on the lookout for that. Would love for you to come ahead and check it out, have some fun. We'll be reacting to free agency live together. If the Thunder sign somebody, you'll get my initial straight up reaction, so if you want that, definitely roll through. But yeah, appreciate you watching. I'll see y'all later. Real Wednesday back.